it's almost backwards sometimes. Like instead like of getting them to a loan officer first, they almost stipulate all of the orders first, and then at the end, once they think that they've reached an agreeable agreement between all parties, then at the end they send it back to the divorce lending specialist. But then the divorce lending specialist takes a look at the order and is like, well,
We're handcuffed sometimes.
You have an order here where this is no longer going to apply in January 1st, or you don't meet the child support, spousal support requirements either,
Right.
or the difference between spousal support and child support as well too. So all of that stuff plays a big part. So what Denise and I are trying to do is we're trying to educate the community to be able to help people that want to stay in their homes during a divorce process be able to without going through this long process and in the end figuring out that it's not possible. It's getting them to a loan officer first, having them be able to determine whether or not it's possible. If it's not possible, giving them some options as to if they did this and this and this, it would be possible, and then they can decide. And I feel like that by doing that, it also helps families move through the process faster, which in the end saves them a lot of fees and
Absolutely.
a lot of time of going through this process.
Well, one of the things that I will tell you is common practice in family law is they deal with the home last, unfortunately. And the problem with that is typically the home is what? It's the largest asset of the case, usually. And the home impacts a lot of the other negotiations or decisions that can transpire in a case, such as maybe even visitation, where are the kids going to go to school, percentage of time, which can impact child support, can impact a lot of things. So this is really a process of teaching the community that putting the house off till last can really hurt the clients. The other thing that we look at when we're brought in early on enough to where we can look at the whole pie, kind of as a all the different avenues, ways that we can look at equalizing. We might have a case where there is money for retirement that is up for potential equalization. And let's say somebody doesn't want to pull so much money out of the house because it would make the payment so high they don't qualify. If retirement has already been settled and it's off the table, we don't have that opportunity any longer to maybe explore that option. So it will fit at the end of the day what the family needs. So getting involved as early on as possible to look at everything is really crucial.
Yeah, and from a non-divorce standpoint, as a real estate agent, what I like when clients meet with loan officers first is that a loan officer will provide them with certain options and be able to guide them. No, this is not going to work out, but if you do it this way and this way and this way,
Correct.
then it may work out. And that's the problem right now, that sometimes we're dealing with the house at the end, which takes certain options off the table, where it makes it to somebody that may have been able to keep the property and stay there with their kids. Now, because they waited until the end, they may not be able to, just because of different things are off the table.
They're off the table. Sometimes I have clients who you have to remember, and this is a divorce is a hard process. So, and you may have one party that has standardly handled all the finances during their marriage. So it's an uncomfortable space for them to be in. So they really need somebody who has the knowledge and the expertise to help guide them. And maybe that is helping them structure, talk. I frequently, in the cases that I'm assigned on, I work directly with the attorneys, give them some ideas and suggestions, whether it's structuring of a child support or alimony timelines. If there is going to be an equity buyout, maybe I'm only 3 months into the receipt of the child support and I need a full 6 months documented. I can work with the attorneys to say, hey, let's put in the stipulation that we have a few more months, maybe 4 or 5 months, in order to achieve the refinance, so that I will be able to document this 636 rule, something of that nature. But the key is, back again, always is going to be, get the consult as early on. We can explore many options that you might not think of. An option that we frequently do in order to bridge that gap is adding a cosigner.
Mm-hmm.
that might not be something that they have thought of that they can do if they really need to stay or want to stay in their home. And on the flip side, sometimes what happens for me, which is doesn't necessarily equate to a loan, which is okay, that's fine. You need to be in this world to be passionate, to just help the person at the end of the day. But it's not uncommon for me to work the numbers for a client and show them that they may qualify to stay in that house. But once they've done an equalization, what does that look like in numbers? Once they've pulled out enough money to buy out the other spouse, what does that do to their mortgage payment? And how does that impact their ability to live? So that client might look at that and go, it's not right for me. I think I'm going to go ahead and end up selling. So it really helps them make wise choices. And if they decide to move forward with a sale, it helps them maybe emotionally detach from that property because they're realizing what the raw numbers really are.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for me, Denise. Like, obviously, if somebody's going through this process and they like to keep the property, I may not get a sale out of it. But if I guide them to the right person who can help them throughout that process, maybe refinance,